Hey, Tim, this is Danny Smith. Just calling to tell you how much I appreciate listening to your show, Truckers' Voices. It's very informative. I really like hearing the drivers' stories, how they got into the trucking industry and maybe what kind of trucks they started out with. And it's just been a lot of fun, and I would encourage any drivers out there to tune in and listen, call in, be a part of it. It's a great show.
Hey, this is Chuck Lopesiger, and I listen to Truckers' Voices every Thursday evening from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern on Facebook or YouTube with host Tim Taylor and co-host Steve Brand, because it keeps me informed about the industry and the drivers that keep our country moving forward. Don't forget, Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Be there.
Hi, this is Scott Post, and I love Truckers' Voices because there's always something entertaining and educational for our industry. And it's also hosted by two of my good friends, Tim Taylor and Steve Brad. Tune in tonight. And in the meantime, be safe out there. Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? My name's Charlie Demchuk, and I'm here to welcome you to tonight's big show. Y'all sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Tim and Steve got a good one in store for you. So have a good night. We'll see you.
Hi, this is Tony Wainwright. I hope you enjoy listening to Truckers' Voices as much as I do. Now, without any further ado, kick back, kick your shoes off, air your corns out, and get ready to listen to another fine show.
Well, good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? I know it's been a little while since I've been on. We had Tim Blair on last week. It was an outstanding show. Hope everybody had a safe day. Hope we're having a good week. Getting ready for the holidays, getting started here in a couple weeks. But we got a good guest on with us tonight, a good friend of mine from up here in the Buckeye State, Mr. Tim Livignston. And we're going to bring him on here in just a second and find out his story. But like I said, Tim's in the backfield tonight. He's a little bit under the weather, but we wish him all the best and healing up and everything. So I'm with you tonight and got a good friend, Tim Livignston, with us. So let's go ahead and get this show started. Now let's hear about Tim's story.
Well, Steve, you know a lot of it, but basically, been driving for quite a few years. We've got about 4.6 in commercial trucks. I had a perfect record right up to 2.9 million. And then my wife wanted to throw me out of the house because I had a preventable accident and I could have kicked the Toyota Corolla and done more damage. But anyhow, it's still a preventable accident. I got started in the industry years and years ago. I was a stowaway in my grandpa's truck going to the coal mine at 6 years old, and learned to straddle the shifter and have cigar smoke blowed in my face. And I had two preventable accidents before I ever turned 16 in a truck. My grandpa was deathly afraid of lightning storms, and he was in the back of the field. So I put the toolbox on the front seat of the truck so I could reach the pedals, and fired her up, backed her up, turned her around, and headed to the back of the field to go get him. And when we got back up to the front, he looked at the planner and says, "You're gonna have to learn how to back up a truck," because I backed over the planner.
Oh no!
The next day, now I'm 8 years old. The next day, while they're fixing that, he's having me back the truck out of the machine shed back turning it around, backing it up to loading docks, pulling it up, turning it around, backing it in the machine shed, pulling it. And I had to do that until they got the planter fixed.
Oh, wow.
And that was my first lesson. And I tell you what, at 8 years old, at the end of that day, I could back that truck up anywhere you wanted to. But he taught me how to use the mirrors. And we didn't have any fender spot mirrors, so that was my first driving lesson at 8. And then when I was 16, had my driver's license, they sent me to the coal mine with very specific instructions. When you come back through Delaware, you run 36 up to this certain street, then you turn and come over to 37. Don't come across 37 because of the hill in downtown. Well, I was so excited, I just forgot all about that. I wound up getting stuck on the hill with 8 tons of coal in the truck, no tarp on it. And unfortunately, there was a state highway patrolman behind me in one of the old Plymouth Furies. And I kind of dumped the clutch, killed the engine, and coal rolled off the back and on top of the hood of his thing. I got it across the street, and he pulled me over there. And I was crying like a baby because I knew if they found out I got a ticket, that I never was ever going to be able to drive the truck again. So I helped him clean it.
Hang on just a second. Let's go back to what kind of truck was you driving? Was it a gasser or was it actually a diesel?
It was a 1965 Ford F500 550 with a 392 gas engine in it and a 5 and 2. Is exactly what it was, with a 16-foot Midwest best that we generally hauled livestock with it, but we hauled the coal for the house and for my grandpa's packing house, and that's what I was getting to do, 2 trips a day until we got the 180 ton hauled. So anyhow, but yeah, that's what it was. So yeah, it was a powerhouse and all that. But yeah, that was my beginning in it, and then after that, it was just I should have known then I was going to wind up driving trucks because I just flat loved driving everything. It doesn't matter what it was,
right?
And then I hauled swinging beef, bought a straight truck, and was hauling swinging beef and selling it to stores for a few years, and hauling some swinging beef down to Cincinnati and Roanoke, Virginia. First time I was in a cab over International, I got up in it and looked at, well, hell, I can drive this. It's got the same stick in it that the old straight truck does. No, a 10-speed and a 5 and 2 is not the same thing. It took me an hour to drive from Dayton to Springfield, Ohio.
An hour?
Oh no, an hour. I had to figure out how to shift it. It was an experience.
Right.
But yeah, and then I had a couple older guys jump in there and show me how to do it, and teach me how to do it. But that's where I did, and I got a chauffeur's license back then, like you did. Take a 20 question test, and then when the CDL came around, we had to take the big test to get grandfathered in. 192. I wound up with 190 of them, right? So of all the tests, but and then driving, sold our truck and everything in the business. That business, it was going down anyhow because box beef was coming in.
Now,
I went back to cutting.
Year? What year was that?
Early 80, 81, 82, 83, and 84.
Okay.
And everything. Then I went back cutting meat for about 2-3 years around a grocery store, and the owner sold the grocery store, and I went to work for Superfoods. Loved the job, wanted to drive, and I've been driving ever since. And looking for a home after I wasn't getting put on full time. And so I went and applied to every place, but they wouldn't hire me, even with the miles I had, safety record in commercial vehicles. And so I went down to this little startup company that was called RPS and put in an app to get some doubles experience, saw opportunities, and I stayed for 30 years. And loved the line haul stuff. We were point A to point B, back 4 days to Sacramento and back, 4 days to Rialto and back, running team. 5 trips up into Pennsylvania and back. Did that. Did some local stuff for them too. Used to run to Hazard, Kentucky at night, and this was back in the 10-hour days, and 527 miles and no interstate.
No interstate. Everything's back road. Now,
No interstate.
What year was this you started with your RPS?
92 is I started in 91, and then 92 I got my contract, and then in 93 is 92 to 93. That's when I was running down there to Hazard at night, every night. And there's 146 stoplights between Grove City and Hazard, Kentucky, in a round trip. There's 42 in a round trip just through Portsmouth.
Oh, wow. So now, when you started with RPS, did you start with a contractor, or did you just buy your own truck and take off?
I started with a contractor. I was very lucky. I just put in a blind application. This guy needed a team driver and everything, and I was looking for 6 months of doubles experience, because no one would hire me that was pulling doubles because I had none back then. They could be real choosy back then.
Right.
And so I went to work for him, and nice note, then having in my business before, I saw the opportunity there. And when this run to Hazard, Kentucky came up, nobody wanted it because it was supposed to run out of Hazard, which then meant he was going to have to move down there. Well, I decided just to run out of over the garage apartment, which is about a quarter mile away from the plant terminal down there. And I was going to just stay down there, which is what I did for 2 weeks. There's one problem, though. There's not 26 hours in a day.
Nope.
It took 12 hours. It took 12 hours a day to do all the line haul, and it took 14 hours a day to do the P&D stuff. So by Friday, the freight wasn't getting back down there to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So
right.
It was on that end of it. But so then we brought it back. They brought it back up to Columbus, and we ran it there, and I just fell in love with it and stayed in a team opportunity, and then got a good driver out of school. Taught him out of school, and Cecil he stayed with me until he retired, and then we just grew from there.
Right. So now, go back to said you guys was hauling box meat. Was that your own company or family company or grandpa's?
No, I was no. It was a company out of South Charleston, and it was the Ohio Beef feedlot out of South Charleston. They had a slaughterhouse that they were all they were doing was killing cattle, loading them up on semi trucks, and sending them out for the plants. So we hauled stuff to Cincinnati to Cons, Roanoke, Virginia to Valleydale Packers, and that's where most all of it was going. The swinging beef was, and then they wanted. We were selling. I started out just selling the sides to grocery stores that were still using it, and that's where that came in and all that. And that's where my store door delivery stuff that I always loved that stuff. It's just if you don't start that when you're a young man, you ain't going to do it for long,
right?
Because that's tough.
Okay, now, like I was saying, what the truck you drove, was that owned by your grandfather?
Yes. No. I own these. I owned the straight truck. I bought it.
Okay.
from a packing house that was closed. And then that tractor I was telling you about, yep, I owned that sucker and didn't even know how to drive it, along with 3 reefer trailers.
Right. Right.
The people that were running the plant, the manager had a lot of faith in me, and I have a lot of respect for him and everything else. He's gone now, and when he got sick, I looked at him and I said, "Is it time to sell the company?" And he says, "Yep." And I said, "Okay." So that's when I sold the company and got out of it, because it wasn't without him being at the helm, it wasn't going to stay working. But I had a lot of fun, and there is something else about that with that truck is that the West Virginia Turnpike, hauling swinging beef and not knowing really having that much experience driving a truck
Right.
is very, very interesting.
Okay.
And we had a lot of there's a roadway driver that I smacked his mirrors a couple times on old US 35, because you youngins, let's put it this way, take 3.5 feet off of each side of that road and you'll know what US 35 was like in the 80s.
Right.
Or in early 90s. It was narrow.
Right. Exactly.
So, but now from there, it was like I enjoyed it. The waking up in a different state, running team out west and back, go to bed, and training drivers is what we did to build our fleet up. And drivers is we took them straight out of school, ran them through the entire works, we'd stay up, work with them, make them learn how to do it right, put them in situations that weren't dangerous. One of my favorite things is to be sitting back in a sleeper and listening for it, knowing where they were at, and knowing they weren't around anybody, because we only let them drive at night to start off with, and reach up and put my foot on the stick and kick it out of gear on them to see how they reacted.
Right.
And everything, and teaching them how to hold the steering wheel, because they all wanted to turn it down like it was a car steering wheel. And on that, with the old trucks, and Steve, you know this, the old power Armstrong steering trucks and the old trucks with the steering wheel is a lot bigger in diameter, and it was flat. And it was flat for a reason. So you had the leverage to keep it from jerking out of your hands, and they'd want to hold it that way. And I'd reach over occasionally and grab the steering wheel when they had it turned up. I said, you can't control the truck that way. And they learned real quick to keep it as flat as possible, so that they had that leverage, because when it's flat, you have to move your elbow and your upper arm in. And when it's up like a car steering wheel, if you lose the steer tire, you're not going to have the strength to hold that steering wheel, because it's going to twist you. But and we'd do that to them, teach them how to come down the mountains, and challenge them to do it. Tell them that they had to see how close they could stay to the right line, for how long, and stay within 6 inches of it at 60 mile an hour, 70 mile an hour, just to get good, solid skills for it.
Right.
The other thing we told all of them was real easy.
Right.
You pull doubles for us for 12 months. You can go to any company you want, because they think you're crazy. And
so what year was this, Tim, that you decided to buy your first truck with RPS, and then how did you?
1992. We were I was running a team run, and then now I was running solo, running that down to Hazard. And then it got switched over, and there came a team run. Nobody was wanting to run teams anymore, and there was a team run that I had ran for the contractor that I started with down there. And my wife told me, she said, you need to go back running team, because at least on the weekend, you're worth something around the house, because I was either sleeping in or I was driving in. So I'd only been up for 8 hours, or I just got up before I headed home.
Right.
So on the weekends. So that's why we went to running teams. And because of the home time with the family and everything else. And then the West Coast runs, which were nice, leave on Tuesday, be back on Friday night, early Saturday morning. Be great for the weekends. So running a team, we found that we were getting more quality home time.
Right.
And that's what, so we got that. So we bought another tractor and we had that team. Then we bought a brand new truck for the team. We hired another driver. Now I didn't have anything to do, so I started driving the old truck solo. Then we found another driver, and well, actually 3 drivers, and I bought 2 new trucks and kept the old ones. And that's just how we grew over the years. And then as RPS or FedEx changed over to FedEx Ground, and it grew, we moved out to Mansfield, operation in Mansfield, and then up to Cleveland, operation up there at the Twinsburg terminal. We were running 5 teams in Columbus, 2 singles, dedicated runs. And when we sold the company, and the reason we sold the company was it wasn't fun anymore. Yeah, I was steering a desk. I wasn't steering a truck. And steering a desk is, for a driver, is you might as well put yourself in prison. And it got to the point, and then about 6 months before we sold it, one of the drivers had a family emergency, and I said, "Hey, I'm on my way." So I ran down, jumped in the truck, ran down to Memphis, laid my tin, got the loads, came back, and when I came back, I told my wife we're selling it. And I think there's fireworks going off all around the place, because she was the happiest woman in the world, because she was tired of doing the books for 46 drivers and 32 trucks.
Right. Right.
And
so just from 1992, when you bought your first truck, to when you bought your last truck, you've really seen a large price increase.
Yes.
Very large.
My very first new truck cost me a grand total. Now this was a single axle with a big sleeper on it for running team. It had 68-inch sleeper on it, single axle, because we're just pulling pups. $71,000, brand new.
Right.
And the next one was when I bought the twins, which were the next 2 that we bought. They were 78. No, that was about 3 years later. The last ones, 100. The last ones, which were new in 2017 or 2018. Those were $168,000 a piece.
Wow.
And we bought 6 of them.
True.
And that was, but the fuel economy on the trucks were a lot better. They were more durable. They were Western Stars, and they were built like tanks.
Right.
And everything. In fact, one of them hit an elk in Wyoming at 70 mile an hour with me in the sleeper, and we wound up driving it back to Ohio.
Oh wow!
Because that's how tough the bumpers on those things were.
Kind of touch base. We touch base on the prices of the trucks and everything. Kind of touch base on the regulations and the rules that has from when you started to now.
When we started now, if your truck passed a DOT inspection, you were good to go. And as far as the paper logs, that was stuff that all of us old timers we knew. Then the ABS brakes came in. That was in that period of time too. That was something else to get used to. The exhaust regulations killing the fuel economy of the trucks and the power. Um, and then all the other safety features that we have that came on board and were required by the companies. The camera systems, the guys, the modern cruise controls were a heck of a lot better than the older ones were. And the camera systems were one. The the automatic braking systems, because of the cameras and stuff, that was hard to get some of the guys to get used to. And just the regulations all across the board. The drivers having sleep apnea, having to have sleep apnea test, and having carrying their CPAP machines with them, which is good for their health too. I'm not saying it wasn't. And the fuel changes, that was a big one too, that added cost and hindrance to it. The biggest part of it as far as cost is all the new equipment you had to have on the trucks that was being mandated by the government and also by the companies too.
Right.
The regulations made it a lot harder to do business.
Right.
A lot harder to do business. More expensive too.
Okay. Now, you as a small company, I've always wondered this. Was you required by the company or by federal law to have like a safety person, like a safety office? I don't know what all these companies got. They got safety, they've got operations, they've got all that type of stuff. Was that required by law or by the company you was with?
It's required by DOT too, but the companies were the ones that really started enforcing it bigger. And what we did is they had a list of companies that had their generic safety programs where you watch the video, you take the test, you answer the questions, this, that, and that stuff. And we took it a little bit farther and we built our own system. We used the JJ Keller stuff, and then we had our own questions to it because we saw stuff. We didn't want them to be JJ Keller drivers.
Right.
You see them in the middle lane running 62 mile an hour because that's the lane of least resistance. We used the stuff that we had used to train drivers. And we would ask them questions like, we use the facts for drivers from the TDC.
Nice.
And one of the things we did with that was, and this is one thing that we did that woke drivers up. Just think of this. In there, it states that 1.47 feet per second for every mile per hour that you are running.
Okay.
That's how far you travel in that 1 second. If you're traveling at 60 mile an hour, it's 88 feet per second.
Okay.
When it gets up to 70, it gets up higher. And that's where the guys really started seeing it. And then asking them what their stopping distance was. This is stuff that a lot of them don't do, but we were making them figure out their stopping distances with the reaction time and everything else at different speeds and how fast per second they were running at different speeds, making them think about what they were doing.
Right.
And that was one of the things that we really used. We also we made them all learn how to use the fire extinguisher with the pass system. We took all that stuff and that we had got from the TDCs, and we had that incorporated into our safety, which really made them good. And one of the 27 drivers that we trained and everything, out of those, 19 of them still have perfect driving records. They have no preventable accidents. They've had a ticket or two, but no preventable accidents. They always maintain the equipment very well, and it was and there's one of them that I have that is very special to me. Tom, he when I hired him out of school, I said, "You give me 12 months, and you can go anywhere you want to, and everything, because they're going to think you're crazy because you're pulling doubles." On his 12th anniversary, he calls me up and he says, "You know, it's been the longest friggin' year of my life." It's been 12 years. He has now been driving almost 20 and is still accident free and violation free.
Oh, that's awesome. Tell him appreciate what he does, man. That's awesome. So basically you've got your company policy that you're running for. You've got FMCSA, DOT, all that, and then you guys took it a step above and beyond, is what you're saying. You added to it. Now, is there a size, where you've got to go into having like a safety department? Like if you got 5 trucks or 50 trucks, do you know, is there any kind of a limitation where it starts?
Well, I really don't know on that. All I know is that it got to the point that I hired a guy and we set up our safety program, and he was also became our recruiter and our disciplinarian along with me, because if it was too egregious, I would throw the book at him to figure out how to get rid of them. But we set up our own program totally. I have no idea how much it was required or not. I do know that, well, I really can't say anything about that because it's not settled yet. It wasn't our fault and everything else, but still.
Right. You don't have to talk about any of that. I'm just
yeah. But it's basically we tried to go above and beyond everything, above and beyond on our maintenance. Every time that a new set of steer tires was put on, there was a new set of shocks put on, and everything was balanced and lined up. Same thing on the rear end. Changing the oil, they were saying 50,000 miles on these new engines and the synthetic oil. We were doing it at 30, and I was still thinking it was too far. So just by maintaining everything, because we had trucks that our team trucks would put on 1 million miles in 4 years without batting an eye. Some of them would even do it quicker than that. And we would rebuild the engines. We'd take care of them and rebuild the engines, and we'd run them another 500,000 miles on the teams because they were taken care of. And then we'd put them on the single stuff and put another 500,000 miles on them. And then they were pretty much parts. But that's just how we did it to be able to survive in it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, because I was just from 91 to 96. I drove for a small outfit when we had 5 trucks, and we didn't have all that. You wasn't required, I guess, to have a safety department. And the only thing, she got audited one time and said you need to keep up with the random drug test. A couple drivers every so often has to go do a random, and that was about it. That's why I was wondering, with you getting into a small operation, small company, growing, how did that, rules change. The bigger you get, the more rules you got.
Yeah, and that's what was happening with us with our contract, because in our with FedEx Ground, we were one of the largest single company entities that there was. We were allowed to have more than 15 trucks because we were in the 3 different locations, and our safety record and our performance record That's why we were allowed to do that. We still had to follow all of the DOT. The guys had to be that we were having they had it scheduled where for the random drug test and everything else. We also we would even call occasionally one of them if they had been off for something and we knew they were having to have like one of them fell and cracked 2 ribs. Well, he had narcotics for a while he
Right.
was getting back up on that. Well, we randomed him before we let him back in the truck.
Right.
Everything, he was clean, but it was still one of those. It was CYA. That's the biggest thing in this whole industry is you have to CYA because no one else is going to do it for you.
Right.
And everything.
Right. So now, when did you retire? You're somewhat semi-retired. You're still working around the farm, stuff like that. But when?
Yeah.
How long ago did you sell your company?
We sold our company. Oh shoot, I can't even remember now. It's been so long ago, and it's been such a nice period of time. This went so fast.
Like you said the other day, the phone doesn't ring at 2 a.m. no more. I got a
that
truck.
Well, that one night when I had to plug the phone in, that only used 2% of the battery. I was a happy camper. I'm trying to think. Well, it was January of this year when I made him an offer to be completely out of it. It was last July, a year ago. This July, it's been over a year. Is when we sold the company and everything else, but we finalized everything in January this year, where they didn't owe me anything. I didn't owe them anything. I was completely done of it because I was still waking up in the middle of the night worrying about the business because I was carrying the loan. And it was bad enough when I was $3 million in debt, but that was bad enough. But having it where somebody else is responsible for paying me that, it wasn't sitting well for me, and I wasn't resting. I wasn't enjoying it.
Right.
So we made him an offer, and I've actually been totally retired since mid-January of this year, doing what I want when I want.
I want to transition. You brought up something all ago about the TDC. I want to transition that, but I want to tell everybody the phone lines are open. If y'all like to call and talk to Tim, got any questions for Tim or anything, give us a call at 251-616-2151. 251-616-2151. Give us a call. Now you brought in the TDC. When did you get involved in the TDC, and why did you get involved? And one more question: did you try to incorporate your drivers to join the TDC?
It was in 2000 when I first met you, and I came because I lost a bet with our terminal or line haul manager. Because I kept telling him, he kept wanting, yeah, you need to do this. You need to do it. You're good. You need to do it. You need to. I said, I'll do my rodeo and on the road for real. Well, I lost a bet. So I had to go that year that I met you. And I got to the Holiday Inn on the lane in that narrow little alley. I saw you guys in the halls in there.
Right.
And I'm looking around, and the longer the day goes on and the next day and everything, and it's like, wait a minute. These guys are just like me. They're professional. They're just absolutely great people. And at the banquet, it was like, if you would have taken in any one of the TDC banquets, if you would take out everything in that banquet hall that says truck, a person could walk in there and not guess what we did for a living.
Right.
That's how impressive it is, and the quality of the people. And there's more of us out there that aren't road team captains, aren't sponsors for the TDC, that are out there just doing it and being quiet because they don't want to be thought as a stereotypical. I always said back in the early days, it was chain drive wallet, cowboy boots, big belt buckle, and that was it, and greasy fingernails.
Right.
There is none of that anymore, and that's what they drivers the back even then. And Steve, you know it too. Back then, being a truck driver was not a glamorous or a job that was really looked up onto. It was like, oh God, you're just a truck driver.
Right.
We're not just truck drivers. We're people that have families and living and everything else. I know how you are with your fam. I'm sure Tim's the same way, the way I am with my family. They're the most important things to us, and being home and getting home safely. The TDC is just a combination of being safe for a year, challenging yourself, reading the book, learning things that I never knew before. I mean, backing up to docs and everything else, there's stuff that, there's nothing in that matters out here on the road. That
Right.
isn't true. Making a right or left hand turn and not curbing a tire. Right. The other one is backing up to something and having a way that you can judge how close you are to it and everything. And it's not by trying to judge your distance front to back. It's the picture that you see in your head as it's going back. There's so much of it that translates to everyday driving, and it makes your job actually easier. The TDCs and showing, well, as your example was with me, taking on, 2-3 years later, I was doing what you were doing, taking the guys that looked like they were scared to death there's their first year as rookies, and helping keep them calm.
Right.
And all that. The TDC is a great exercise for everybody, and the renewal of the faith in the industry too on it. It's more than just a competition. It's a family reunion.
Exactly. And it brings out the professionalism. I mean, you made the comment, I don't like that saying when people say, oh, you're a truck driver. You're just a truck driver. Well, without truck drivers, you're not going to have anything at all. Mm-hmm. We deliver, what is it? They say 78% of the goods or something like that. I heard those numbers thrown around. And, it's like you said, the TDC, it turns drivers into professional drivers. And like you said, I totally agree. You walk into that banquet hall, you won't know that's a room full of truck drivers. Very professional, nope. And the whole 9 yards. So what happened to you after the first year? You got hooked. You lost a bet to go do it, and then you got
hooked. Let's see here. I'd have to go look at. I'd have to go up and look at the trophy, but I think it was 2012. I competed for 12 years before I even placed in the top 3. I was always close, but I wasn't. I placed second in 2012 in a tanker class. There's a story behind that, but that's not important. But it's not important to anybody but me.
Right.
And it was great. And then the next April, or no, that fall, it was like in November. I'm coming back from Colorado. I'm coming through St. Louis, and this Kia Sportage comes off of this loop ramp. She's on her phone. She's not paying attention. She's taking it way too fast. Comes across the zebra lane. I'm in the middle lane. I can move to the left lane, which I'm not supposed to be in, and she still hits me. Guess what? Wow. Now I can't compete this next year. The year after I place second, I cannot compete. But I'm still there at the TDC. And I haven't competed in like 6 years now.
Right.
But I still go every year as a sponsor, and even if I wasn't sponsoring, I'd still go just so I could see all the good people and see the young crew that's coming in. That's coming into the TCC, and hoping they lost a bet and got hooked.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
We
So
got a call coming in, Steve.
We got a call coming in. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, be right back with you.
All right. I done lost my train of thought now. I done lost what I was going to say. But
Yeah.
so just on a relative personal opinion, what advice would you give to a young husband and wife, or a young lady, young man that would want to get in to start buying trucks and develop a small company like you had? What advice would you give them?
Pick the heaviest duty truck you can get. Something that's going to be able to hold up. It's that, and the other part of it is that if you're going to run a husband and wife, and you're going to run team, that's where you're going to be able to do the most good for your family, because you're both going to be there. I know some husband and wife teams that they enjoy it. They enjoy the money. Both incomes are coming into the same household. One husband and wife team I know went 15 years, and when they retired at the end of 15 years, when they were in their early 60s, they didn't need anybody else's 401 because they had already put it all away.
Right.
But maintain the truck. Watch the truck. Your truck is your money maker, and take care of yourself personally. You know, don't run 3 or 4 days, hit the showers, make sure that you take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself and take care of that truck, you're not going to make any money.
Right.
And don't take any don't let anybody tell you got to do it. Don't let anybody tell you got to go, because you don't. You're the captains of that ship. And err on the side of safety and maintenance of the truck. The expenses are going to be hard. It's not like a boat, because a boat, you just bring out another 1,000 on a boat. On a truck, you put another 1,000 in it to make it last longer, because it's making you money. It is your tool. It's like a carpenter's hammer.
All right, hang on, Tim. We got a call. We got a call, Taylor.
Yep, we got a call.
Who we got on the line there? Welcome to Truckers Voices.
Hello, Steve.
How you doing?
It's your favorite son-in-law.
What's going on, Aaron?
Oh, not much. Just sitting here, waiting away the evening.
I hear you. Got a question for Tim or anything?
Well, your daughter told me I needed to call in.
I hear you. Well, I appreciate you calling. So
I have a question. I have a question for him and everything. Well, yeah. I know your father-in-law. Next time I see him, what do you want me to do to him to straighten him up?
You broke up real bad. I couldn't understand a word you said.
Yeah, go ahead, try it again, Tim. You're breaking up.
Well, the next time I see your dad, what do you want me to do to him to straighten him up? Because I know him real well. Take his
have to get a big old bear hug for me.
Okay, well, I can do that. That's just flat ass enjoyable, in my opinion, and everything. I was gonna say take away his Denny Hamlin patch.
Oh,
that could be fighting words.
Yeah. Just give him a Jeff Gordon cut.
Yeah, we ain't gonna go down that road. So.
No.
All right.
No.
All right, we're gonna let y'all go. You guys have a good evening. We'll talk at y'all later. Appreciate the phone call.
Hey, does Lacey want to say anything to her dad?
Hi, Dad.
Hi, baby girl. How you doing? Getting along all right?
Yeah, sitting here with your granddaughter.
Okay. Give Macy a big hug for Grandpa.
Wanted to tell everybody, make sure the important trip is the trip home.
That's right.
Exactly. The most important trip is a trip home. So,
Yep.
thank y'all for calling. We appreciate it.
Thank you for calling.
We'll see you.
All right. Take care. You never know what's going to happen on this show. You just never know. So
No,
did back to that?
Yeah,
I've
met your. Yeah, go ahead. The TDC. What?
Yeah. Did you get your drivers involved in it? It's a company.
Yes, I did. I had the first year they had the step van class. One of my drivers was the step van driver for Ohio and won the very first Ohio step van class. Andy Vance. He did it. Had another driver that was in it that year, but he won the state, and then he went on to the nationals. And then I've had Tom. He did it the 1 year. He enjoyed it, but he's one of these guys that he's real shy, and being around a lot of people he doesn't know, it kind of bothers him and everything. But he said that he learned a lot from it, and he helped that. I've had a lot of, altogether, I think I've had 10 drivers compete over the years and everything. And they said that I was probably the meanest coach they ever had, because I was always behind them on the practice, running around behind them. But I said, no, you need, watch this, and everything. So the TDC is a great program on it.
Exactly.
And I anybody that can, even if you can't, just go plan your weekend at Kalahari in May.
Right.
right before the prices go up.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. So let me just kind of go back. You started out on the farm driving a truck at 8 years old, and you come all the way through. You started out with one truck, and then you worked your way up. Would you say y'all had 45 trucks, something like that?
No, we had 30. We had 32 drivers, 46 drivers, and 32 trucks.
2 trucks. Okay. Is there anything that you would do different? Because you said at 8 years old you discovered this is what I want to do, is drive a truck, and that's the direction you pointed yourself in.
Well, when I was 8 years old, I wanted to farm and drive everything that was on the farm. Right. And what really drove me into trucking is that when I went up and back into it after running the grocery stores and going in there, because that period of time that I ran over the road after I sold the meat stuff and everything, I didn't like being gone for 10, 12 days at a time, which is what I was doing, because I was running over the road and I was just running the east stuff. But I love driving. And I still do to this day. Would I do anything different? No, I really wouldn't, because the people I've met in 30 years of running the company, the drivers that we've trained and got them started good, were amazing people. I wouldn't change anything, because it would ruin. I may not have the memories that I've got now. And was it tough? Yes, it was. It was very tough, and everything. But I wouldn't change a thing on that end of it.
Right.
There's Looking back, it's been a great time.
Right.
One of the things that driving on the interstate, we were Lionel, which was 4 days, two out, two back, running to Sacramento, and same thing down on I-40 to running down there, back and forth to there was same thing running I-80 back and forth. Ran the road so much that I knew where every bump was. I was off the run for 5 years because we had a great team on there, and I had filled in one time, and I noticed that I was swerving in certain places. There used to be potholes there. and that's something you don't want. That's pattern driving. You don't want to do that.
Right.
But the big thing of it is that when I was driving out there on the interstates and everything, I was wondering what's on the other side of that mountain. What's on the other side of that? What's there? What's in between here and that interstate? What's in? Well, this summer, my wife and I took a little road trip, and we found out what's out there. There's US 36 that runs across northern Kansas. It's US 70, or it's I-72 until you get to the end of it and get ready to go into Missouri, and then it's US 36 from there on over. And you get out there, and it is absolutely insane. There's no traffic. The roads are absolutely amazing. I mean, we're talking 2-lane roads that have shoulders that are wide enough to be another lane, and
Right.
there isn't any traffic out there. I mean, if I had to go to Denver today in a truck out of Columbus, Ohio, I would run up I-74, get on 72, and I'd run 36 out to 36 to take it down to Denver. Instead of running across I-70. I wouldn't go I-70 for love and money. Coming back out of the west, we ran across US 50 from Fallon all the way back into Kansas.
Right.
And I went going over a Monarch Pass in that Suburban was very, very spooky to me. I would have much rather been in a semi truck because I'd driven a semi truck across Loveland Pass on I-70, off I-70 before, and I felt very comfortable in that. But I had spot mirrors. I could see the lines on the side of the road in the spots.
Exactly.
I was straddling the stripe going up the damn thing in the middle because we get up the top and everything, and then coming back down.
Yep.
It's great road. There's amazing stuff out there in between them, and there's other ways to go. But
well, Tim,
that's for another day.
Yep. Another show. We'll have to get on and talk about what's off the interstate. It's about time to wind this thing down. I hear some music playing in the background. Hours done went by. This is what we call the post-trip part of the show. And if you was to leave a safety message to everybody out there listening, what would your safety message be, sir?
Training, experience, safety. If you don't have the training, you don't pay attention to what you're doing and everything to get your experience, safety. The other one of it is winter is coming up. You look it up. 392.14 in the motor carrier safety regs. Abide by it.
Copy that. Well, Tim, thank you all. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for being here. Stick with us, Tim. We'll talk to you on the other side. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate it. Mr. Taylor, get yourself better. We appreciate it. God bless you all. And remember, like I always say, the most important trip is the trip home. Y'all have a beautiful night. We'll talk to you next week.